afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to be talking, it's going to be our workshop, and we're going to be talking about immune system health, and of course why it's so important, that there are two times where people get under the weather a little bit more throughout the course of a year. And we want to know that the seasons that we're in, one of those times is the fall season when our children go back to school, because when they go back to school, they interact with other kids, and a lot of times they get things and they're passed on to their parents. And so you get this roundabout where people get under the weather during the September month, and then you have the December month, the time of the holiday seasons, where people tend to get more under the weather as well. And so I want to share with you what I do to keep my immune system strong, what I believe is very important for you to know, and a good fundamental understanding of health and wellness. Because a lot of times when patients come to see us at first and we do an exam, we find out where the misalignments are, we get their body back into alignment, and we say that that's the foundation of health and wellness, alignment, right? Because when your spine is in alignment, the power that God put in your brain can get into your body, and that power is what brings life, health, and healing, and strength. So the better your brain runs your body, the better your body works, right? So of course alignments are important. We say never let a week go by without alignment. Why? Because on a weekly basis, your spine is exposed to different physical stresses that cause misalignments, right? So alignment is not something we do for a medical condition or symptom. It's something we do so that our body can heal properly of whatever is going on, and more importantly, get healthy and stay healthy, right? So alignment is not something we do for a period of time. It's something we do to keep our body strong always. And for me, I've been in practice now 22 years, and when I learned about the importance of alignment, I never let a week go by without alignment for 22 years. And a lot of times when, because I play sports and I'll play tennis, and people say, wow, you never get injured. No, that's because I keep my body in alignment. But I know that when I play tennis, when I play a sport, it comes out, I just don't let a week go by with me being out of alignment, so I get myself in alignment. So I'm able to run, and people say, wow, how old are you? Because I run as fast as a 25-year-old when I'm playing tennis. They say, how's that possible? That's not by accident, that's by design. Can I tell you that the majority of people on planet Earth, when it comes to health, they're not necessarily planning, they don't have a good plan to get healthy, so what happens is they unconsciously and by accident either create sickness or do some things that help them get healthy. What do I mean? Some people know about eating right and exercise, right? Say, Doc, that's why I eat right, that's why I exercise. But the foundation of your health is not based on what foods you're eating. It's based on how well you're in alignment, because if God's power can't get to your body, even if you're eating good food and you're not digesting them well, it doesn't really work that way. Does that make sense? When I started practice 22 years ago, we used to have people come in with all sorts of chronic illnesses. I'm talking about the incurable stuff, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, cancers, autoimmune diseases, things like autism, things like Lou Gehrig's disease. And I didn't understand alignment like I do today. Time has taught me a lot more than what I had and I knew when I started practice. But so what I would do is I would check people for nutrition. And every person coming in would leave with like 32 bottles of nutrition. Everybody had 32 bottles, because when you check somebody and everything's breaking down, they need a lot of stuff. But I started realizing, I remember saying, it can't be that everybody needs 30 bottles of nutrition. You guys have friends like this? They take like 22 bottles, they got bottles for everything, right? And I was like, at some point, I remember, that's how I met when my wife came to see me. We were dating at the time, and she brought her mom, and of course the mom had 32 bottles of nutrition leaving the office, and she had her 30 bottles. And I said, it can't be that somebody is that deficient that they need 30 bottles of things. And I'm giving bottles for everything wrong instead of identifying what's causing the body not to work the way it's supposed to. And so I came to the conclusion about 3 to 4 years into practice, hey, you know what? I'm going to get people in alignment and see what the power of God can do in their body. And rather than give them 30 bottles, maybe they need 1 or 2 or 3 things. They don't need all that. And what I came to recognize is that the better your body worked on the inside, the less you would need. And then I realized that there are certain nutrients that are good for everyone to take all the time, not just for a specific condition. And there are other things that can help in crisis-type situations. What I came to realize, it's not that people needed all this nutrition, is that they needed proper alignment first and foremost. And so we always talk alignment first. I want you to know that the foundation of health and wellness is alignment. But I'm going to go beyond that. That's why we do workshops. And it's never to take away from alignment, because alignment is the foundation, right? But the purpose of an advanced workshop is we're advancing past the understanding of alignment, right? So what's the second most important thing I say that you should be focused on, not only to keep your immune system strong, but to get your body healing, is called chemistry. So you have structure, then you have what's called chemistry. So what is chemistry? Chemistry has to do with multiple factors. Number one, you want to write this down. You guys want to take notes? If you're not taking notes, you want to take notes. Number one, chemistry has to do with the foods that you're eating. Hippocrates said this. He said, let your food be your medicine. But he was the father of modern medicine. He also said this. He said that when you're very sick, what happens is when you eat, you could be feeding the sickness. I want to talk about that because we don't realize the impact food has in our body a lot of times. But there are foods that when you're eating them will delay, hinder, and contribute to a lot of sicknesses in the body. I'm going to give you the most common one. You ready? What do you think it is?
Sugar.
All right, praise God. You got a sugar. That's right, sugar. But you know what's really interesting? Because sometimes, like I was speaking to somebody got diabetes the other day, and type 1. By the way, type 1 is where you're insulin dependent. Your body can't handle any sugar. And he said, my blood sugar is spiking up and down. I said, okay, well, you just got to use a different fuel source. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, your body can either use sugar as fuel or it can use what's called ketones. You haven't been taught that your body can use ketones or what they are. That's why you haven't used them. And so he said, what are ketones? I said, well, they're a breakdown product of fat, but good fat, not bad fat, good fat. Good fat is like coconuts and almond flour and coconut flour, things that are called keto products. Keto, how many of you heard of keto products, yeah? It's a fad sometimes, but I want you to understand that what happens is when you have good fat, your body knows how to break down that fat and make something called ketones. And ketones can be used for fuel, just like sugar can be used for fuel. And I said, it's almost like going to the gas station, and you have the unleaded gas, and you have something called diesel, right? Most people don't really know about diesel, right? So somebody uses it sometimes, but we don't really understand. What is a diesel? Or you can run on 87, or you can run on 93 gas, right? These are different fuel sources. So I said, if you pick the worst fuel source, which is like 87, I don't know, they have 87 these days, or is it 89? I don't even know what those, whatever that is, that's what sugar is. The worst fuel source. You say, why? Well, number one, because when your body metabolizes, the word for metabolizing is burning. When your body metabolizes or burns sugar, it creates something called oxidative stress. You say, what's that? It's like smoke. Smoke. You know, like if you would try to burn, if you put wood in a fireplace to create a fire, if you put wood in the fireplace, it creates smoke, right? That smoke is the same thing that happens when your body uses sugar as fuel. And what does it do, that smoke? It's called oxidative stress. What does it do? It creates inflammation. And what does inflammation cause? Everything bad, including pain and swelling. So sometimes people have swelling in their ankles, they have joint pain everywhere, and they're getting in alignment, and we say we really need to cut back on the sugar and get your body using, instead of using sugar, using ketones. And they go, what's that? Because they didn't know there was a 93 gas. They didn't know there was a diesel gas. But it's a better fuel source. Why? Because, remember, it's a breakdown product of good fat. When your body uses ketones, instead of creating that smoke, when it burns ketones, it does it very clean. And there is no oxidative stress. What does that mean? You have less inflammation in your body. Well, what else have they found out about ketones? They found out that ketones are better for your brain to function properly. That your brain runs on ketones better than sugar. What does that mean? You know how like a car can run, on 93 better than 87, right? Well, your body runs on ketones better than it does on sugar. Now, some of you, as I'm talking about sugar, you're thinking, I don't have sugar. Like the guy I was talking about the other day, he's a practice member. He said, he's a type 1 diabetic. I don't have sugar. I don't know why my blood sugars keep spiking up and down. I said, well, do you have carbohydrates? He said, yeah, but the healthy ones. Nobody ever told them what carbohydrates are. So let me explain to you. Carbohydrates, here are the 4 categories. Pasta, bread, rice, potatoes. Now, they don't taste like sugar, right? So we would think they're not sugar. The challenge is when you eat those things, they break down to sugar. So your body runs on that fuel. It breaks down to a sugar called glucose. So that means the starchy foods, the pasta, the bread, the rice, potatoes, beans, even though you would think beans are healthy, Doc, I don't eat white rice, I eat brown rice, I eat basmati rice. And we would think this is healthy, right? But nobody told them that that breaks down to sugar, which means your body has to produce insulin to break it down, and it's still running on 87. It looks cleaner, but it's still 87. It looks cleaner because it's brown. It looks cleaner because it's called basmati. It looks cleaner, but a sweet potato is still starch and still will be turned into sugar, which will still be burned, which will still give oxidative stress. And so he didn't know that the brown rice, the basmati rice, the sweet potatoes, and the beans were all turning to sugar, and he couldn't understand why the sugar was spiking up. But the reality was nobody taught him that that's all sugar anyway. And then he said to me, I don't really have sugar, and once in a while I have apples, but that's not really bad, right? Well, your apple is sugar, so it's going to create the same effect. So sometimes we think, oh, but that's a good sugar. Yeah, it's still sugar, and your body will metabolize it the same. So whether it's an apple, whether it's watermelon, whether it's berries, whether it's strawberries, oh, but that's less on the glycemic index. See, people don't know. It's still sugar. So I created a video a couple of years back, and I want to share it with you. Because you see, my mom was 82 years old. I think it was 2-3 years ago. And she was having diabetes. I mean, I'm talking about like your blood sugar is supposed to be under 120. Hers was at 500. And I was adjusting her every day for like 20 years, so I know it wasn't an alignment issue. Although that's usually what it is in the beginning for somebody who's never got adjusted. I knew it had to do with their eating. And I said, okay, Mom, I said, we're gonna need to change the eating. I said, but I'm her son, so she probably won't listen to me, so I'm gonna take her to dietitians and nutritionists. And after going to about 15 of them, realizing none of them knew what the heck they were talking about, because some had her on eating 5-6 times a day, which is the worst thing you can do for diabetes. Other people had them on foods that were sugar-free, but full of chemicals and preservatives. I'm like, that's not right either. And other people were like, no, it's good to have sugar. You should just have like fruits. And they put her on fruits, which would cause the blood sugar to stay up. Well, why were they taught that? See, they went to a school that was run by pharmaceutical companies who wanted her to take drugs and have sugar with it as long as it's healthy sugar, instead of teaching her how to get off of that model. You see how that works? So after all that, I said, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to teach my mom myself. But I once heard a story about somebody who wanted their child to stop eating sugar. And they went to one of their leaders and said, can you tell my child to stop eating sugar? And the leader said, come back in 3 months. What? Come back in 3 months? Come back in 3 months. So they left. She went with her child. 3 months later, comes back and says to the leader, can you tell my child to stop eating sugar? The leader looks at the child, stop eating sugar. And the mom says, why didn't you say that in the first place 3 months ago? And the leader says, because I didn't stop eating sugar your real leader is not going to tell you to do anything they're not willing to do themselves. So let me tell you that everything we do in this practice, everything I do in this practice, I go first. I'm never going to tell you to go on low carbohydrate unless I know that's the way I'm eating. I'm not going to go tell my mom, go ahead and do low carb if I'm not going to do that. You follow? So I said, okay. So when I take on that responsibility, now I have to figure out how to eat in a way that I don't feel restricted. And I'm still getting everything that I like to eat, because the reality is I like pasta. And I like carbohydrates. So I'm gonna figure out like how to do this thing, because I'm not thinking about like dietary restrictions. I'm thinking about like a way to live. So I had to go and investigate substitutes that not only were low in carbs, but actually tasted good and were healthy. And I found literally alternatives for everything, including like last night I had a big bowl of carbonara pasta, which is very low carb. And I put sauce in it and cheese in it, and it tasted great. But it was a low carb meal. Anyway, I put it together, and I said, Mom, these are the things we're going to need to do. And I said, instead of eating this, we're going to need, and we started making a game out of it where she would try to find good things that were low carbs, and I would find it, we would, okay, try this, try that, here's a good dessert, here's a good chocolate, here's this, and we came out with a manual and a book and a video that explained all this. And that video is called the Low Carbohydrate Eating Regimen. So when I know somebody has diabetes, I say, you gotta get the low carbohydrate eating regimen. It's a video link we send to you. So if you need it, you just ask the front desk for it and they'll send it. It's included in your care. But I want you to know what happened with my mom is that we completely changed her eating. And her blood sugar that was at 500, I got her what's called, for those of you that have diabetes, type 2 or type 1, I'm going to tell you what we did. We got a transdermal patch. They have it. It's called the Freestyle Libre Monitor or Dexcom Monitor. Why? Because my mom didn't want to prick her finger all the time. It's painful. So what you do with this patch is it goes right into your skin, and it measures the transdermal blood sugar. So you can get a blood sugar reading not once a day, but 24 hours throughout the day. So I was able to watch. And when she ate something, it would show me if it was causing a blood sugar spike, so I can show her, so she would learn, when I eat this, this happens. Well, through that process, it was about a 5-month process. My mom was on 500 milligrams, actually 1,000 milligrams of metformin to start. We were able to get her from 1,000 milligrams of metformin to 500 milligrams of metformin to 250 metformin to after 5 months, she was diabetic free. My mom is 83 years old. She's on 0 diabetic medication, because she had figured out how to eat in a way that would never cause diabetes anymore. I had figured out through that process how to eat in a way to stay lean, bring down inflammation, and can I tell you, the same type of eating that I'm recommending to you is the type of eating that'll keep your immune system strong through the seasons. It's the type of eating that actually optimizes hormone function. So what does that mean? Youthfulness, vitality, energy, no longer craving carbohydrates and pasta and bread, because I've found things to use instead. And the good news is that if I eat like that for the majority of the week, come on the weekend, if I want to have 1 or 2 meals that are different, it doesn't affect me, because I eat clean most of the week. So what do I do? I'm going to give you exactly, remember I said I'm only going to teach you things I do. Number 1, this is the way I eat on Monday through Thursday, including today. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. In the morning, I like coffee. Some people can have tea. If you're going to have coffee, make sure it's organic. Don't ever have inorganic coffee. Don't have regular coffee because it has glyphosate in it. You know what they use in the chemicals that they use on the fruit and the vegetables to prevent any sort of bacteria, virus. It's a pesticide. It's called glyphosate. Roundup is what they call that. Well, when you spray, the glyphosate is extremely toxic for your brain. So if you have coffee, you might be thinking, oh, this is good, but if you have it and it's not organic, it's toxic. You gotta be very careful with that. So I always get organic coffee, And in the morning, sometimes you get tea too, and then they have these other ones that have like mushroom extracts that mimic the taste of coffee too. But what I do is I take 1 tablespoon of something called MCT oil. Have you heard MCT? Raise your hand if you heard that before. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. And, are you guys getting value out of this? I got a lot of content to cover here today. MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. It comes from coconut oil. If you take coconut oil and you break it down, you have inside of it what are called medium chain triglycerides. What are they? They're a certain type of fatty acid that converts to ketones very fast, so that my body can run on a different fuel source. I don't want it running on sugar. I don't want 87 gas in my car. I want 93. Well, if I would spend extra money to get 93 gas in my car, and this is the body, why would I give my body a low fuel source, low grade fuel source? That makes no sense, does it? You know, we take care of our cars better than we do our bodies. We do. I know a lot of people that won't spend any money on their health, but they got no problem fixing their rims in their car and getting beautiful paint jobs, or they take care of their house, but they don't take care of the house, which is the body. So I'm not going to give my body, listen closely to what I just said there, I'm not going to give my body no low-grade fuel. I'm going to give it the best fuel source there is. Food is fuel. Write that down. The enemy will have you think food is for comfort. That's not for comfort. Food is not your idol. Some people make it as such, but it's not meant to be an idol. Whatever we use as comfort or pleasure becomes an idol. You guys know that? It's dangerous. Because it damages your body. It doesn't help. It's a lie. It makes you feel good instantaneously while it causes more damage. Just like cigarettes, just like alcohol, food can be used as an addictive substance. So we have to break free of that idol. We have to break free of that idol. And we have to recognize food is fuel, and I don't want to put a low-grade fuel in my body. My body deserves more than that. I want to run on high energy. I want to be sharp mentally. I don't want to put no low-grade fuel. When I put that a bowl of pasta that has high carbs, that's low fuel. That's low-grade fuel. I don't want to give that to my body. Where was I? Ketones. MCT oil. The #1 company is called Bulletproof. You buy it on Amazon. It's called MCT oil. Comes to my house in a liquid bottle. I take 1 tablespoon. I put it in the coffee or the tea I make. Why? 1 tablespoon. MCT. Yeah, the company is called Bulletproof. MCT oil. 1 tablespoon in a cup of coffee. Right? Why? Because I'm going to get my body to activate the fuel of ketones, the mechanism for ketones as a fuel source. Okay, what does that mean in English? It's going to curb your appetite. That's what it means in English. Curb your appetite. I put half and half, not milk, because milk has carbohydrates. Half and half has 0. I use Truvia as sugar because it doesn't spike the insulin. Truvia is a natural sweetener. It comes from stevia. Truvia, Truvia. And they have little packets. So whenever I go away, I pick up, I take Truvia packets with me. So if I was to have a cup of organic coffee, I would put 2 Truvias, which sweeten it up, a little half and half, and an MCT oil. And that's literally my breakfast. I don't eat anything. And my appetite curbs till about 12 or 1, where I start getting a little hungry again. And usually what I'll do at that point is I'll have another organic cup of coffee with MCT and with Truvia. Except for lunch, I also have 1 green juice. What is a green juice? Kale, spinach, broccoli, cucumbers, maybe a little lemon or ginger in a juice. Now I don't have the time to juice, so I just get it from Uber Eats, and they bring it here in a little box. And that's my lunch, that cup of coffee with MCT and a green juice. I haven't eaten anything yet. That's what I did today. What time is it? 6:30? I still haven't eaten yet. I do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, can I tell you, if you're hearing me, you're going, that sounds extreme. I didn't start like that. But what I'm explaining to you is a process called intermittent fasting. How many of you heard of that before?
Yeah.
See, we live in America where the culture is so caught up on feasting, but there's never any fasting. Everything we do is feasting. We're just eating. And your body was never meant to run that way. Your body was meant to run on feasting and then also fasting. But in America, we just have a feasting culture. There's nobody fasting ever. Well, let me tell you, feasting is a sure way to age your body very fast and cause massive amounts of inflammation, where fasting gets your body to become more youthful and vital. So let me explain to you what I just said there. You know, they call it break fast for a reason. Breakfast. That's when you break your fast. When did your fast start? Your last meal last night. So you're breaking your fast, but what happens is the research shows that if you go to 15 hours of fasting, 15 hours or more, your body goes into a mechanism where it uses ketones as fuel. And here's the good news. If you don't have any food that you put in, where is it going to get the fat from? Your own body. Your body is loaded as a fuel source. All the fat in your body can be used for fuel. My God, people don't know that. All the fat in your body could be used as fuel. Well, why isn't my body burning fat? Because you keep feeding it sugar. So you're getting it to run on a different fuel source. So it doesn't even know how to change from 87 to 93 because you don't feed it anything that gets it to run on a better fuel source like ketones. It's used to using sugar and starch. So when you don't have sugar and starch, what happens? You get hungry, and you get, Doc, I'm feeling very hungry. You're feeling hungry because your body's so used to using 87, it doesn't even know there's a different fuel source there. You see how that works? Okay, if I get too complex, you gotta let me know, because sometimes I give you the science, and I want to give you the simple understanding of it too. The longer you go from dinner, your last meal, to the next day, the more you'll mimic that state of intermittent fasting. And the benefits of this, it'll bring down inflammation, which means you'll have less pain. It'll optimize growth hormone, which means growth hormone is necessary for building bone, building muscle, building everything. It'll optimize hormone function, which means your hormones will work better. And here's the good news. It'll start bringing balance to your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol. All three. And then how does that work? Because you see, one of the things I noticed with my mom is when her blood sugar was getting better, her blood pressure was getting better. You know why? Because when you have a lot of sugar in your blood, it makes it thick. And when it's thick, your body has to pump harder to get the blood to go to where it needs to go. When it pumps harder, that's called high blood pressure. So how do you get your blood pressure down? Get your blood less thick. How are you going to do that? Cut back the sugar and the starches. If you haven't watched the video, this is what I'm getting at, because we don't have the time to cover it in full detail. Get the video. The low carbohydrate eating regimen video is very important. Okay? If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, you need to be on that eating regimen. How does cholesterol tie into sugar? A lot of people don't know that too. But your liver will take the sugar and starch you eat and convert it to cholesterol. Did you know high cholesterol comes from too much sugar? How does that work? Because your body has a mechanism of defense where if you have too much sugar, it can be very dangerous to your brain. Because if the blood is too thick, you can't get blood to your brain, you don't get fuel to your brain or oxygen to your brain, it can cause a stroke. So your body has a mechanism where it says there's too much sugar coming in, take the sugar, convert it to cholesterol in the liver. And it produces an enzyme. Okay, the name of the enzyme is called HMG-CoA reductase. When you take a cholesterol drug like Lipitor, you know what it does? It destroys your liver cells so that they can't produce that enzyme anymore. What? That's crazy. That's why if you're on a Lipitor drug, they tell you on the bottle you're supposed to be getting your liver checked every 2 weeks. How do you know that? How many people do that? No, they got rid of that idea. They destroy the liver cells so it no longer produces the enzyme, but now you still have all that sugar coming in, so instead of getting high cholesterol, one of the side effects is diabetes. Because they still didn't get to the cause of any. So that way they can put you on metformin. In fact, when they put you on Lipitor, they say, hey, we should take metformin too. Because they know that you're not going to change your eating because nobody's going to teach you that. So they just put you on both drugs, and then they say, hey, you know what, we should also get you on high blood pressure because we find the correlation. Yeah, because the sugar is thick. I want to go back to this understanding that if we could change our body from running on sugar as fuel to running ketones, all of this would stop. But America is so filled with a sugar culture. And you might say, well, we don't have that much sugar. We do, but it's starch. It's the same thing. Pasta, bread, rice, potatoes. That stuff's got to be cut out. But not to the point you don't have alternatives. That's why I created the video so you know the alternatives. Okay, so far so good? Can I also tell you that I want to go back to intermittent fasting. If your last meal was at 8 o'clock and the first meal you had is, what was it, 1 p.m. the next day? How many hours did we just do of fasting? 15. Where are my mathematicians? From 8 to 8 is 12 hours. We go 9 is 13 hours. 10 is 14 hours. 11 is 15 hours. 12 is 16 hours. Am I adding this right? Yeah, okay. And 1 is what? 17. My gosh, so you don't even have to go like me. I went 24 hours. But you don't have to do 24 hours. All you have to do is get past 15. In order to mimic a state where your body will bring down inflammation and will get your body to run on better fuel. Isn't that incredible? So here's what I want you to know. I didn't start with 24 hours. I started by going from 8 p.m. till 12 o'clock the next day. I had that cup of MCT in the morning, it curbed my appetite, it became easier. As my body got better at using ketones for fuel, it became easier and easier. So that 12 o'clock turned into 1 o'clock, the 1 o'clock turned into 2, the 2 turned into 3, and pretty soon I was able to do 24 hours. Can I tell you, about 2 years ago, I was able to do 2 or 3 days straight. I can't do that right now. I'm going to get my body back to that state. Because that's when I was the leanest and the healthiest. So I know how to get back there too.
What if you have
Hypoglycemia. So this is a good question, guys. Hypoglycemia is the name for low blood sugar. So not high, low. Can I tell you why people get low blood sugar? It's because when you use sugar as a fuel, it spikes, but what happens after a spike? Crash. That's all it is. So hypoglycemia is a word that they know is a precursor for someone who's about to get diabetes. Because their blood sugar is unstable. And when it's low, you get hungry and you almost feel like fainting. But the reason why your blood sugar is unstable is because you're using sugar as a fuel source instead of ketones. When you use ketones as a fuel source, your blood sugar is stable, and it doesn't even matter because your body's using ketones, so it doesn't matter what happens there. Does that make sense? We were talking about immune system, weren't we? How did we get here? No, because this is all about the immune system. You know what destroys your immune system? Sugar. What do people eat more of during the Christmas holidays? Why does everybody run down that week? Well, number one, because a lot of times we go around our family and it brings up a whole bunch of emotional trauma that we had as childhood. And we eat a whole bunch of cakes and sugar and everything we say. And somehow we say we're celebrating. When did a celebration become about destroying our body? I don't even know where that idea came from. We're celebrating, so we're going to destroy our body. You know, in reality, I believe it's because there's so much emotional trauma. We're just trying to get comfort. So we're like, hey, bring out the food. We gotta be around some people here. I need some food in me to comfort me during this time period. Because we're not using food as fuel when we're eating the 7th meal on that day, right? It's not really food as fuel anymore. But can I tell you that if you can shift the body, if you can start using some MCT oil, if you can fast a little bit more, you know, if you haven't done any fasting, and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna have my last meal at 8 p.m., try to go till 12 the next day. Have a little cup of coffee in the morning for your appetite if you need to. But if you can do 12, then take it to 1. If you can do 1, take it to 2. Build your way up. When I do a 24-hour fast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, can I tell you the main reason I do it is because I realize that if I'm destroying the flesh part of me, the spirit in me is stronger. That the Spirit of God can work stronger. So when I put my hands, I expect fire to come out of my hands, which is what happens. But did you know if I eat food that stops, it doesn't come out the same way? Because I got myself into the carnal nature. For those of you that understand the things of the Spirit, I want you to know that there was more energy by staying in a fasted state. Isn't that crazy? More energy by staying in a fasted state. I'm going to talk a little bit more, then I'm going to answer questions, because if I feel like the Spirit's moving through me, I just want to stay there for a second. More energy comes from a fasted state. If I was to run a marathon, I would want to understand what I'm teaching you here. Because ketones are a better fuel source and they last longer. So a lot of times when I play tennis, I fast. Because if I introduce food, it'll affect the stamina of my game. So I stay in a fasted state even when I'm playing a sport. I want to keep going. I want you to understand so far. Low carbohydrate and 1 green juice a day. Why did I tell you 1 green juice? Because when your body runs on ketones, it still produces an acid byproduct. You're going to need to buffer that acid, so you need green juices that have alkaline residue or reserves. That's like magnesium and good minerals, they buffer the acid. Can I tell you that if you don't remember the whys, but you remember the what, it's fine. But the reason I give you the whys is so that you understand that I studied this extensively. Not a little bit, extensively. So I know all the ins and outs of the biochemistry pathways to explain to you why you should do it. Because a lot of times when I tell people just to do it, they know what to do, but they don't necessarily do it because they don't realize the importance of it. So I have to explain the what, the why it works, not only from a standpoint of benefit to you, but also why it works chemically. So that you know, okay, Dr. Ray knows his stuff. He's not just telling me to do it for any reason. He gets what's happening in my body, but also what are the benefits of it. Because when you go and you make a conversion from ketones, from sugar to ketones, your body's going to run on a better fuel source, which means everything works better. Yeah? Also means a whole bunch of pain goes down. Okay, let me give you an example. My mom, I'm going to go back to my mom, 82 years old. It's about last year, blood sugar is perfectly balanced. So she's figuring I can cheat a little bit more. I'll have a little bit more sugar and starch, and you know, my son won't really know. Because my blood sugar is pretty good now, you know, so you can cheat a little bit more and get away with it as far as your blood sugar goes. But it also creates inflammation. So I noticed, like 3-4 weeks, she's coming in complaining of pain. Not the same area neither, because that would be that one localized area, but like multiple joints. I'm like, you introduced starch back in your diet? She's like, no. Like that. No, which means yes. I know how to read through the words, right? No. I said, Mom, the starch that you eat breaks down to sugar, and that sugar needs to be metabolized, and when it metabolizes it, it creates smoke, or an oxidative stress, which creates inflammation. So even though it's not so much starch to cause a diabetic type reaction, it's still causing inflammation in your body. And people don't know that. They think, well, I don't got diabetes, I can eat whatever starch I want. No, it's going to cause inflammation first, and then it causes hypoglycemia, and then it causes diabetes. That's the mechanism.
What is gluten?
Gluten is just, gluten comes from wheat, and gluten has something called glytomorphins, and glytomorphins are tough on your digestive system, so they can create a backup. But usually anything that has wheat is high sugar, so if you're avoiding the starches, you'll be avoiding the gluten too. Yeah. Let me go back for a second. I want to share this with you. I said, Mom, if you have food that has less inflammation in it, your pain will get better. And then I I said to her, and if you have one green juice a day, just one, it's enough to replenish the good reserves called minerals, which also bring down inflammation. Now when I say that, people, because I'll just tell people low carbs green juice, and they may not understand the depth of what that really does in your body. When you have a green juice, it also has in it something called magnesium. Magnesium does multiple things. Number one, it brings down inflammation in your body. Number two, it relaxes muscles that are tight. Number three, it helps your brain work better. Number four, it gets your nerve system out of a state of stress. Now somebody says, well, I could just have magnesium. Like there's a supplement that sometimes we give people called Calm. It's magnesium powder. And it's good sometimes. But this is not a substitute for a green juice. A green juice is still better because it has more phytonutrients and more minerals that when combined have a bigger effect than just taking magnesium. How do you know if you need magnesium? A natural Calm, this is magnesium powder, is it does help you sleep. If you have trouble sleep, you should be on a magnesium. If you always are cramping, you may need magnesium as well. But in general, I always tell people, if you had one green juice and you were doing fasting and you had low carbohydrate, you got the whole equation down right. Some element of fasting. For those of you that are listening and you've never heard anything about fasting, you may just choose to count the hours from your dinner to the next meal and try to make your way to 15 and above. For those of you that say, well, I think I can do that one day, I'm going to tell you bump it up to 2. For those of you that say I can do 2, I'm going to say do 3. Can I tell you, for me, I currently do 4. But I have an easier time during the week. Why? Because I'm taking care of people all day. I'm not really thinking about, food. But on the weekend, I think about food more. And on the weekend, my wife and my children, we go out to eat. So I'm not going to try to restrict myself and everything, because if I've eaten clean all week, I can afford to have a meal that's off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What happens, though, listen closely, is when somebody thinks they're doing the right thing and they're eating like beans and apples and basmati rice and going, I'm eating clean, not realizing they're about at 150 grams of carbs for the day, because what they thought was clean carbs is still clean 87 gas, is still 87 gas. You see how that works? This is what a lot of people don't know. How do you get diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol when you're eating clean? Is because if the food is turning into sugar as a fuel, you still got to metabolize that. And it's still going to create the same mechanism. And can I tell you, being on low carbohydrates, when you watch the video, you'll get it, but it's 50 grams or less for the day. And an apple has 25 grams. So I'm not looking to get an apple because 2 apples is my daily max. I'd rather have things that are low carbohydrates. The carbonara, for example, one big bowl of pasta has like 35 grams of carbs, and if that's the only thing I'm having at night, I'm still under 50 grams. Keeping my body in ketones also will curb your appetite. So if you're getting hungry, it's because your body's relying on 87 fuel instead of the right one, ketones.
The green juice is broccoli, spinach,
Kale,
kale,
celery, spinach. I would say anything green.
Can I
Except
ask
for
my
apples.
question,
Don't put
please?
apples in there.
Can I ask my question? Can you answer my question, please? If you do not drink coffee, what kind of tea would you recommend?
Anything organic. Organic green tea would be good.
What about black tea?
Black tea would be good as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Green apple is okay?
What's it?
Green apple.
No, I would have, because the apple has 50 grams of carbs, so you kind of want to avoid that. Okay, you ready for the next part? Wow, we covered a lot of information already, okay? We talked about structure, we talked about chemistry, and I just went into eating right. So many times, people want to take nutrition for the problems they have, not realizing the food they're eating is the problem, not a supplement. They want to take a supplement to counterbalance the food. What do I mean? You have your meals are pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, and you're saying, Doc, I take turmeric. Yeah, but the amount of sugar that you just had, the little pill of turmeric is not going to counterbalance 75 grams of carbs. It's not going to work that way. So if we just cut back the carbs, you know what I mean by that? Yes. I said, Doc, I got massive amounts of inflammation because I got like 150 grams of carbs a day, but I'm taking these 2 turmeric things, these tiny things. So it's not a substitute. I typically tell people, in addition to your alignment, you have to incorporate an element of fasting into your eating regimen. And in addition to that, you should incorporate some element of low carbohydrate and green juices. So I would say the order is fasting, green juice, and low carb. All three of those simultaneously, some element of some of that stuff needs to be. Now you say green juices, I can't do that every day. Well then don't. Start out with 1 day a week. Do it 1 day, go 2. You're doing it 2, do 3. All it is, 1 green juice a day, right? What if you do 1, do 2? No, 1. 1's good. 1 green juice is good. Okay. How many of you have done a 4-day cleanse here? Let me tell you why we put people on a 4-day cleanse. It's a complete resetting of the body. It does it all. It gets you into fasting, it gets you into ketones. And let me tell you this, when you fast, I didn't even get there. When you fast, your body needs fuel. And not only does it use fat from your own body as fuel, it uses all abnormal cells as the fuel source. What does that mean? Abnormal cancer cells in your body, abnormal DNA, abnormal skin cells, abnormal immune cells. What is an abnormal immune cell? It's called an autoimmune disease. Cancer cells. The average healthy person has cancer cells, but your immune system is supposed to be killing them off. But if you're not fasting, you're never getting your body into a state of killing off cancer cells properly. So it's very important. And abnormal skin cells, what does that mean? You look brighter. Your skin looks better when you're fasting. You look younger. So you want to know the best for vitality? It's not Botox, it's fasting. Botox is a poison. You're putting poison in your body. It's actually killing the nerve. And if you just fasted, you get the same effect naturally. So you know what? It's better to do that than poison. So let me say that again. Some element of fasting, intermittent or block. A 4-day juice is a 4-day fast because it's got your calories under 500 per day, so it mimics fasting. So what does it do? It destroys everything abnormal in your body and resets the biochemistry. If you haven't done a 4-day cleanse, you can ask the front desk to get you a copy of a 4-day cleanse, okay? I recommend doing at least a 4-day cleanse 2 times a year. If you have a lot of inflammation, you may need to do more. In addition to your alignment, that's going to have a big impact. Some form of fasting, some form of green juices, and some form of low carbs. What does some form of low carbs look like? Yeah. Well, if you're going, I eat carbs every day, how am I going to get this to some form? Start with 1 day. Just commit yourself to not having carbs for that 1 day a week. If you can do it 1 day, do 2. If you can do 2, do 3. What's another some form? Some form can mean if you had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're cutting breakfast out, maybe lunch you don't have at dinner. Work your way. Work your way. See, sometimes people think it's all or none. So they never really get anywhere, because if they can't do it all, they just do nothing. It's what happens a lot of times when people start caring. You know, you guys are all under care, but sometimes we'll do a talk to a group of new people, and they'll go, well, if I can't commit fully, I'm going to do nothing. And I'm like, that's a horrible idea. Because doing nothing is going to get you worse. At least start moving in the right direction. Because if you don't start, you never will. Isn't that right? Procrastination is a thief. It's a thief. It's an enemy strategy to stop people from getting to where they need to go.
No.
Yeah.
I'm listening to your key that is interesting. One of the things, we do protein.
Yes. Protein is, in a low carbohydrate eating regimen, protein is important with the meals. But when you're fasting and your body's running on ketones, it also will be able to break down certain foods into protein bases too. So you get that from the essential amino acids. So a lot of times when you're fasting, they tell you not to go past 40 days. There's a reason for that. When you go in past 40 days, this is what the research shows, your body starts getting muscle wasting. But if you do it before 40 days, your body's extremely resourceful and knows how to take amino acids from your own tissues. Pretty cool stuff. Isn't that interesting how the scripture talks about 40 days, right? Somebody ever fasted for 72? Not that you can't, but it causes muscle wasting. That's why they don't want you doing it. So let me say this also. Fat breaks down into a better fuel source. Protein breaks down into what are called amino acids, and those are your building blocks. So sometimes, not always, but if someone wanted to do a 2 or 3 week fast, then in that point we would tell them to take something called perfect aminos, or to take some wheatgrass or spirulina, which also has protein. That's all natural. But we don't have people doing that long. I figured 4 days is the max we can do. Okay, now we're gonna go into the next topic. You ready? We're gonna stay under chemistry though. So we have the subheading of structure. Now we're in chemistry, and we're talking about foods. And we just spent a lot of time on food because I wanted you to know the food that you eat impacts your body in a big way. Can I move on to the next one, toxicity? Where do you get toxins from? Food, air, and water. When you do a 4-day cleanse, it's also for detoxification purposes. Because your body's going to be exposed to toxins in the food, air, water supply. What kind of toxins are you exposed to? Well, let's go through some. One is called chlorine, right? Your water. Sometimes people say, that's why I drink filtered water. I understand that, but if you cook with unfiltered water, you're still getting it in that way. Now some people say, well, that's why everything I cook is with filtered water. I don't think that's true for everyone. But also, let me say this. If your shower doesn't have a filtration on it, and you get up early in the morning and you take a shower after being dehydrated all night, you use through all your water resources, when you go into the shower, your body will literally absorb the water from the shower. A lot of people don't know that happens. So in reality, it's hard to get around the concept that you're not going to get some chlorine in your body. Let me give you some other ones. Bromine, which comes from the flour. I'm going to give you one more. Fluoride, which comes from the water supply too. And sometimes we brush our teeth with fluoride, which we have to be dangerous. That stuff's dangerous. That displaces a mineral in your body called iodine, which is necessary for your thyroid, the male, the prostate, and for the females, the entire hormonal system. So again, we say the answers are always the same. Low carbs, juices, fasting, do a 4-day cleanse, but I'm giving you a little background on why it's so important. Does that make sense? Okay. The foods we eat, toxins we get exposed to, and I'm going to give you one last topic. And we're going to end on this one topic, okay? Nutritional supplementation. People say, Dr. Ray, why did you save that for the end? Because I want you to understand if your alignment isn't right, and your eating is not right, and you're just trying to take supplements, you're going to spend a lot of money and counterbalance the money you're spending with the foods you're eating. Does that make sense? Okay, there are some supplements that I think are important to mention. And I'm going to go through these, some of which I'm going to recommend everybody should be on some of these. This is one. It's called Max. It's probiotics. But can I tell you, I've studied probiotics extensively because there's multiple companies, multiple strands, different units, different doses. Some are stronger than others. Some have what are called prebiotics in them. Some of them have what's called lactobacillus, which is for the large intestine. Some of them have bifidus, which is for the small intestine. I came across a lot of companies that sell probiotics, some refrigerated, some not refrigerated, some freeze-dried. This is what I found to be true. This company called Zymogen has one of the most advanced probiotics to date. I wouldn't just go purchasing probiotics from anybody because some of the probiotics you get aren't even alive, they're dead. And some of them have very small doses and some of them don't have prebiotics in them and some of them have a bad mixture. So listen when I tell you that this company is the leading expert I've seen with probiotics. It's called Zymogen, we have it here. And it's called Max. Now, why do you need probiotics? Because they protect the gut. They protect your digestion, your small and your large intestine. That prevents a lot of problems for you. But also, your skin has good bacteria, your eyes have good bacteria, your lungs have good bacteria, and this protects that. Because the food you eat, a lot of times, can have antibiotics in it. When you eat those foods, it kills off the good stuff, so you have to replenish the good stuff.
Excuse me, is that for children also?
Yeah, there's one for children too. It's called Probio Defense. It's a smaller dose. But they should definitely be on it, yeah.
Could you please spell that?
Probio is Probio Max. Yeah, and you take one a day.
What's the name of the company again?
Zymogen. It's spelled Xymogene. We have this one here. If you ever want to get it. It's in there, prebiotics, yeah.
You have more of those?
Yes, we have them here. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of these, and then at the end we can answer all the questions. I want you to know some of the important ones. I want you to know that one of the supplements that I believe is one of the most important to take in different seasons when people are under the weather is called vitamin A. How many of you know vitamin A is the #1 vitamin of your immune system? Some people think it's C. It's not C, it's A. A.
And the carrot juice all that.
Okay, so she said I drink carrot juice all the time. So carrot juice has beta carotene in it. The challenge is that your body has to digest or cleave the beta carotene to make vitamin A. So a lot of times if your digestion isn't working right, it can't break it down properly. So what'll happen is you won't make retinoic acid, which is true vitamin A. So this is retinoic acid, not beta carotene, and it's 25,000 IUs. And what I recommend is that during the seasons, you take 2 of these every night. And if you're under the weather, you take 4. And your body will heal a lot faster, immune system-wise. Okay, I'm going to give you some other big ones. How many of you heard of quercetin?
Is that for me to treatment?
Say it again. Vitamin A?
Yeah.
Say it again. Does it come with treatment? No, the knowledge does. But you can purchase it here. You can also purchase it on vitamin A. No, not any. You gotta, thank you for answering that. #1 is it's very important you get the right company. So the name of this company is called NOW. Let me tell you why we use now. #1, it's the most cost effective. #2, it's GMP approved. Whenever you buy vitamins, we'll have another workshop on vitamins in 2 months, but let me give you some basis. When you buy vitamins, the manufacturing or the quality of that vitamin really matters. A lot of times you can purchase vitamins and the quality control of it, of making it, is really not there at all. So when you purchase a supplement, you want to purchase what's called GMP approved. GMP is a subdivision of the FDA, it stands for Good Manufacturing Processing. Basically what it means is that they're checking to make sure the quality is proper. And what they also check for is something called disintegration rate, which is how easily your body can digest it. So now, NOW, the name of the company, has the most cost-effective GMP-approved supplements.
What's it cost?
$20 or something. Yeah, we have it here. Vitamin A. This is 25,000 IUs. It's high dose, and you just take 2 of these a day. I'm going to give you some of the ones I take regularly. Vitamin A. Next one, quercetin. Quercetin, QUERCETIN. Another very good one for your immune system. I take 1 of these a day. Quercetin. Oh, 500 milligrams. Okay. Maybe you heard of vitamin D. Vitamin D is great for your immune system. We're about to go into a winter season where we don't get as much sunlight. So I would take a good vitamin D supplement. And when you take a vitamin D, of course, I always go to Now because that's the most cost-effective one. And I know that they're good manufacturing.
Which one?
So vitamin D, the same company, Now, NOW. And I would take 10,000 IUs a day. 10,000 IUs. Yeah, this is D3. D3 is the best because it's active. Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, that was what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, sure.
D3.
D3. Okay, you guys ready for some others?
Yeah.
One supplement that we don't have in stock now, but we'll have again next week, is called Adrenal Manager. You want to write that one down. That's one of the most important ones. It's called Adrenal, ADRENAL. ADRENAL Manager. Adrenal Manager. Okay, the most important gland that you have in your body is called your adrenal glands. Now, what do your adrenal glands do? They help the body adapt to stress. Physical, emotional, and chemical stress. What does that mean? in order for your joints to be strong, your adrenal glands need to be strong, because what they do is they produce certain hormones like adrenaline, certain hormones like anabolic hormones like DHEA and androgens, and what these hormones do is they keep your joints strong so you don't get injured as easily. They also, your adrenal glands strengthen your immune system, they strengthen your digestion. When your adrenal glands are strong, everything in your body works well. Well, what tends to happen is when you're under a lot of stress, they get tired. Adrenal fatigue is the #1 cause of digestion issues, immune system issues, and joint issues. Which means you can injure yourself a lot easier when your adrenal glands are fatigued. It affects your sleep. Because there's a hormone called cortisol, which is a stress hormone, that causes massive breakdown in your body, that when your adrenals are tired, they produce a lot of cortisol. So the supplement I take daily, Adrenal Manager, I take 2 capsules twice a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Okay. I always like to teach, but I always like to give you a version that you can take home with. And we said the take-home version of the making changes to your eating is you don't go from never fasting to I'm going to do a 22-day fast. It doesn't work. Oh yeah, I've never done intermittent fasting. I'm going straight for the 48 hours. No, we don't do that, because that'll probably be the last time you do it if you try it, right? So we build up. If you never had any green juices, you're not going to go, I'm going to have green juice every day for the rest of my life. You might start it once a week. Can I tell you the same rules apply with nutrition? You don't go from never taking nutrition to I'm going to take 10 bottles, because chances are you're not going to take them regularly enough. So you build up. You say, Dr. Ray, what is the one most important supplement I should be on? I'm going to tell you Adrenal Manager is that supplement. What is the second most important supplement I should be on? You should be on a good probiotic. What is the third most important supplement? You should be on something for immune system support. Right, vitamin A.
But can you get all this from food?
No. No, not Adrenal Manager, because Adrenal Manager is a multi-mineral, multivitamin, also has a concept in it called PMGs. Those stand for polymorphoglandulars. So they're actually organic sources of like bovine or cows and things like that that have the glandular in it. So it regenerates your glands faster. Yeah.
Is there all of these vitamins or supplements that you suggest? Do they have them for children as well?
Yes.
Or do they come in a multivitamin form that you don't have to keep taking?
Yes, they do have for children, because what you do with children, if they're not an infant, is you give them half the dose.
Okay.
Now, if they're an infant, you give them a quarter of the dose.
Okay.
Yeah, so you take the same thing, because like, let's say you take a vitamin A and it's a gel cap. What I'll do is and when my daughter, if she's ever under the weather, in addition to adjusting her and praying on her, what we'll do is we'll give her some vitamin A, but I'll pop the gel cap of vitamin A.
Oh.
And I'll put that in a little bit of teaspoon. I'll put some honey in it so she can have it easy and get it in that way. And I'll give her vitamin D that way too. And there's one we didn't talk about that's really powerful when you're under the weather. I say keep this one in your nutrition cabinet. Notice I didn't call it a medicine cabinet. We're gonna change the terminology. We need to have a nutrition cabinet, yeah? We don't have medicine cabinets here, we have nutrition cabinets. My children, they only know about nutrition. But this is one that I always have in my nutrition cabinet. And it is called D-lenolate. Can I spell it?
You what? Can you spell it?
Yeah. D-lenolate. L-E-N-O-L-A-T-E. D-lenolate. D-lenolate. D-L-E-N-O-L-A-T-E. D-lenolate. Okay. There are 2 different forms. There's a very strong dose one, and there's a general dose one. The strong dose one is called D-lenolate cold and flu. It's not just for colds and flu. But what it's for is whenever you're really under the weather. Let's say you have a fever. You're like, oh, I can't get out of bed. You gotta have a D-lenolate around. And you take it a certain way. You take 2 tablets 4 times a day. And you do it for 3 days. That's it. It's a 3-day bottle. If you're ever under the weather and you do this, you'll see very fast how powerful this is. And let me explain to you what it is. D-lenolate comes from the olive leaf tree. It's called olive leaf extract, and it's an herb that's so powerful that it gets your immune system to destroy bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasites, anything. It just maximizes immune system function in your body. Very, very powerful.
From where we going to get all this?
We have it all here. Everything you have here.
We cannot get it from outside?
No, this is by East Park Research. Now has one, but this is a better version. It's better standardized and stronger. Can I tell you something? This is important. I want to share it with you. Yeah, you can get any of this stuff outside. The problem is that you can get the wrong company. You can get the wrong dose. You can get the wrong standardization. So we don't have it here because I'm looking to sell supplements. There's really not much you do with them, but I know what's best for people. So the reason we have it here is so they don't get misled.
So what is the company?
The name of the company is called East Park Research. But the reason we have it here is when somebody's under the weather, I can just say, get a bottle of D-lenolate, and it's there for you.
You have everything for allergy because the vitamin shop has
Yes.
very good allergy extract.
Yes. So yeah, for allergies, we have a homeopathic spray called allergy. It helps them. I'm not very good.
What is the company's name?
The name of the company is called East Park Research.
Oh, East Park Research.
So let me tell you again, if I'm ever under the weather, this is what I take. I don't take antibiotics. I've never taken antibiotics for, I don't know, maybe 25 years, 30 years, maybe longer. I don't even know how old I am. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a while. But this is what I take when I'm under the weather. In addition to I always get adjusted. I'm gonna take this, get adjusted. I'm also gonna, with this, I'm gonna take vitamin A. I'm gonna take zinc, is one of the best minerals.
So how many milligrams is that?
This is not a milligrams. This is a combination. It also has homeopathic remedies in it. So it's a combination of things. It's not just one thing.
No internet unit?
Let me answer this question. When it comes to herbs, you have to be careful with milligrams because it's also how strong they are. So sometimes they give you more milligrams, but it's not standardized properly. So they can manipulate the number. That's what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm telling you. East Park Research is the best company for this product because it's one of the only products they make and they study it very extensively. So that's why we go to East, because now has D-lenolate. It's just not, doesn't work the same. So sometimes they say, well, I took it. I'm like, did you get the East Park? Oh no, I just figured I'd get my own. No, that was a bad idea. So, question. Okay, so if you're a child, a couple of different ways. One is that the tablet, if you're able to crush it up, you're going to put it with a little bit of applesauce or honey, and you would take it in, and it would take 2 twice a day. But also, let me say this for children. I like we have a NET supplement. It's a energetic formula. It's called Flu Immune. Works very well with kids. And I give them 4 sprays 4 times a day. So I do both. Great question. It's actually when you start feeling a little bit under the weather, that's when you would take Flu Immune. The thing to prevent would be vitamin A and vitamin D. Only if they're starting a little bit under the weather, or they're going into school, you know, that September month, or they're going into December that month. Yeah, but not every day. Okay. You ready for 1 or 2 more? All right, we only got time for 1 or 2 more. I talked about quercetin, yes? Can I tell you the #1 mineral for your immune system is zinc? Now zinc, the type that you should take is picolinate. The reason you would take zinc picolinate is because out of all the zincs, all the other zincs could be hard on your digestive system. But zinc picolinate is the easiest in the digestion. And normally, when you're taking zinc, you take about 50 milligrams a day. But if you're under the weather, you take 200 milligrams.
Spell the last word. Picolinate.
Picolinate? Picolonate. If you're a child and you say, how do I get zinc to a child? If they're under the weather, you would do 100 milligrams. You always cut it in half. It's an infant, 25.
50 minutes.
Just to keep your immune system strong. 200.
The zinc is how many milligrams?
200 if you're under the weather, 50 regularly.
Okay.
Okay. Let me say this is important. If you're going, Dr. Ray, that's a lot of supplements. You don't start with all of this. You start with one. And if you're used to taking one, you say, what's the second one? So there's an order here. Adrenal manager number 1. Number 2 is what? Probiotics. Number 3, we go into your immune system and we name some of the things. Which is vitamin A. What else do you have for your immune system? Vitamin D. What else do you have for your immune system? Zinc, quercetin. And then we said if you're under the weather, what you should put in your nutrition cabinet. And if you have children, they should also be taking Flu-Immune.
How do you spell that?
Flu, F-L-U, immune is M-I-M-M-U-N-E. Okay, I only got one more I want to share with you guys. For those people that have lung issues, coughs, you know, like when you get under the weather and you're coughing really bad, the number 1 vitamin for your lungs is vitamin A. So that's when you would take 100,000 IUs of vitamin A, which is 4 capsules. But this is a energetic formula. It's called pleurisy. I'm going to spell it for you. P-L-E-U. P-L, P as in Peter, L as in Larry, E-U, R-I-S-Y. Pleurisy. Yes, exactly. It's the drops to help with lung problems. That's why it's there. And the one thing you want to know is that this is good for the cough. So if your child is having a cough, pleurisy. So if I was to tell you, Dr. Ray, what do you have in your nutritional cabinet? I always have D-lenolate. I have a bottle of pleurisy too. And I'm going to give you one more.
So what is that company for that?
Oh, this is White Dove. White Dove. But we have it here. White Dove. Yeah. White Dove is the name of the company for pleurisy.
White Dove.
Okay, one last one. You ready? And maybe you know sometimes people get like food poisoning. And they kind of vomit up and they're like, oh, this is horrible. What do I do for that? What do I keep in the nutrition? We created a formula called Stomach Support that has a whole bunch of formulations in it to help with that. So I like to have a stomach support at home just in case.